Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Your Data HQ. We have Sailesh Manjrekar, CMO of Cloud Fabrics, here with us today. So this is going to be a different podcast where Sailesh and I are going to play a game of looking through the crystal ball to predict technology trends in 2023. So these technology trends are based on an article from Cloud Fabrics written by Sailesh. And the specialty here is that it's the predictions with regard to going into a recession economy, meaning we deliver more value by doing less. And we're going to see what are the major trends with respect to that in the data and AI space. So with that, Sailesh, thank you for being here, and let's play the game. And you know what? The audience can also play along with us and play a guessing game if you want. So I'm just
Hey,
going to
thanks for having me again, Sanjana. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. So I'm just going to get into the game and I'll share my screen. Okay, so we're into the game for 2023 predictions. Let's start. So there can be a lot of trends with respect to data in 2023, such as observability and security. There's so many data stacks interoperating between them. More benefit for data science. What do you think is the topmost trend out of this?
Yeah, so first of all, Sanjana, thanks for having me. And this is a very interesting format, what you have chosen for the podcast. So yeah, I feel, right, so I've written about a data economy last year, and it was more centered around data. We are now going into an experience economy, as you rightly pointed out, right? So there's inflation, there's recession, and so on. And it's going to be all about customer experience. It's going to be about partner experience. It's going to be about employee experience. And all of this is based on data, right? You need data to get visibility into experience. And that's why I think observability as well as security are going to converge. So we're seeing a lot of convergence happening already. And I think that's going to extend in 2023, whether it be around observability and security, security and networking. If you see around what they call SASE, secure access edge, or it could be around business and IT transformation. So all of this is converging around data because data really provides you the visibility, but also essentially the ability to improve that customer experience. So it's very much, I think, is going to be observability and security. And that's where I would like to pin my answer on.
Amazing. Yeah, I do think that that is something out of the thousand things you can focus on. If you're in an experience economy and data is your backbone, this is the first thing you should take care of. Observability and security separately, if they converge, that's great. That will be the right data stack.
Exactly.
So we can move on to the next one. So what are the building blocks needed to achieve the set data goals in 2023 out of the ones you see on the screen? So is it enriching data with more context? Is it having low code interoperability pipelines or observability pipelines, or all of them?
Yeah. So as an answer, I would say all of them, but let me explain a little bit
That is
context.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, let me provide you a little context behind it. Right. So if you look at data, whether you're doing deep learning, you're doing machine learning, you're doing statistical machine learning, all of that needs data to be in order. And what I mean by that is there are certain challenges around data which have been really kind of Achilles heels for anything to do with AI. And those are namely, you got to be able to connect to disparate data sources, right? And they have different data formats. How do you bring all of that data together? How do you ingest that data? How do you normalize that data? But also, more importantly, improving the data quality. So almost 80% of a data scientist's time is spent on improving the data quality and getting the data in order. So that's the second challenge. The third challenge is around skills gap. Data operations, data ops, and particularly leveraging programming for data is hard. not everybody is well acquainted with it. And then finally, data silos. So you have data spread across different locations, different endpoints, and so on and so forth. How do you bring all of this data together without having to move considerably, right? And being able to gain actionable insight. So those are some of the challenges associated with data, and they are becoming more and more proliferant as see this streaming data formats coming out, or streaming data endpoints coming out with the opening of the edge, opening of 5G, opening of IoT. The problem is getting more and more exacerbated. This is where you need really enriching becomes it's a table stake, because unless you have that context, you cannot run AI/ML. Second is, how do you bridge the skills gap? And that's where the low code interoperability pipelines become extremely important, because it's all about experimentation, right? So as they rightly say, data is the new source code, and that is how you need to treat that data. And that was really the genesis of what we are calling robotic data automation fabric. So it's basically, think of it as a platform which allows you to provide data integration, data automation, and data intelligence. Observability pipelines are yet another kind of a new trend, where you are essentially separating the producers and the consumers. And we'll talk about that more as we go along. But if you know the experience economy and observability, it's all about asking questions to a multitude of data sources. And that's where observability pipelines come into picture. And that was really the genesis of my answer.
Got it. Like well explained. So we'll move on to the next trend. So what is another way of looking at or explaining adaptive AI? Does it refer to things like ChatGPT and large language models? Does it refer to non-deterministic code or reinforcement models, or just having data as the center of AI operations and adapting based on that?
Yeah, so I would say having data as at the center of the AI operations, right? And I'll again explain what I mean by that. So there is this new notion been put forward around data-centric AI. And what that really entails is, for the most part, the models have become very much standardized. Obviously, there are larger institutes like OpenAI, and you probably see ChatGPT and other large LLMs, right? Large language models, right? So that is where most of the research is happening. There is a lot of research happening around generative AI and so on. But when it comes to democratizing these models, you got to be able to actually have, again, that data in order. Because for the most part, now you have the models kind of figured out. You have those models available in form of marketplaces and others, right, through APIs and so on. But what do you do with data? Because unless that data is in order, right, you're able to get to that data through data integration. You're able to ingest that, again, enrich that, normalize that. You are not going to be able to have effective business outcomes by leveraging those large language models. Okay, and the AI has to be able to adapt to actually what you're trying to achieve. What are your business goals? What's your objectives of leveraging AI? And I think that's the first step where you would want to start your AI and data and automation strategy. And what that means is, I mean, especially in the IT world, if you see, things are always changing. So you got to be able to discover these changes in real time and bring in that into your data model. So your AI is constantly learning. So your AI needs to be, it's not just enough for training that model. Obviously, the model, you got to be able to leverage models which are able to support a multitude of learning mechanisms, whether it is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, because there are going to be different approaches, right? And there are different scenarios where you'd want to use one versus the other. Second is, it's not just your models. You got to be able to leverage open source models as well. How do you leverage models from OpenAI? How do you leverage models from SageMaker? And so on and so forth. So your MLOps platform, or MLOps as part of the AIOps platform, needs to be able to cater to this. And then finally, you got to have a mechanism where you are continuously learning. You're able to schedule that model to learn as you go along in that environment, because it's not static. You always have data drift, you have environment drift, deployment drifts, and so on and so forth. So you got to be able to learn as you go along. And in particularly, if you see in our platform, we have the ability to schedule learning for that model every few hours, every few days, every few weeks, and so on and so forth. And that's what I would characterize as adaptive AI.
Got it. And that makes a lot of sense because unlike, other traditional software, adaptability with respect to AI is completely different, and it's triggered by changes in the data and like the needs on top of that data. So that's
Exactly.
great. We can move on to the next one. So this is a true or false question. So you did mention that we need to decouple data producers from data consumers. Can you mention why?
Yeah, so as I said, right, so if you look back, we started talking about experience economy. The experience economy needs to be able to leverage data to get insights into customer experience and how you can measure them, right? You cannot improve what you cannot measure. And that's where observability comes into picture. So observability is really the ability to determine, a health of an application or system based on the output it is generating. Now, in the olden days, it used to be an one-to-one correspondence between, so the producers and the consumers were very tightly integrated in the monitoring world and so on. And that used to lend itself, not very well. It was bringing in a lot of inhibitions on how you can use data and glean insights. Observability pipelines really decouple your producers and consumers. So now you can take a data stream. By the way, this is all based on a streaming engine, right? So when we talk about observability pipelines, this is based on a streaming engine like what Cloud Fabric's RDF is, or Google's Dataplex is, and so on and so forth. So you are taking data from this multitude of streaming producers, and now you can the observability pipelines act as a buffer where you can do a number of things with that data. You can massage that data, you can enrich that data, you can transform it, you can store it, you can enrich it using security feeds like CVE and threat intelligence platform. And now you can also correlate that data and then only send actionable data to the right consumers of that data, to a multitude of consumers. So now what you have done is you have made that data a lot more actionable for your consumers. B, you also now have the ability to query that data or glean insights in a multitude of ways, right? Because observability is all about asking questions, and particularly questions you are not aware of ahead of time, right? So this is not static dashboards. These are dashboards. These are questions which are changing over a period of time, right? Which is what we call, analytics, which is based on slicing and dicing of that data and so on and so forth. And that's why it's important to be able to decouple the data producers and data consumers, and that's where observability pipelines play a big role. And in fact, RDF has observability pipelines built in, and they're low code, no code. That means you can leverage our 1,000+ bots to be able to formulate these pipelines.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, that's very well explained. Thank you. So the final question. So data self-service, what are the trends for that? Is it about dashboards? Is it just workflows? Is it being able to self-serve across multiple clouds, or is it all of them?
Yeah, so this is again another good question. So the environments are becoming, or the deployments are becoming extremely complex, right? So we are moving from that static model to a more ephemeral on-demand model in the cloud, or whether it be public cloud, whether it be hybrid cloud, or whether it be edge cloud. And what it has done is it's created a layer of complexity never thought about before. Okay, so you cannot just take all of that data and leverage it for visualization, put it in a SIEM, use it for log analytics, right, or security analytics, and so on and so forth. You got to be able to provide a viewpoint such that it is curated. That data is curated based on the persona you're catering to. right? And if you look even from in the operational world, we are kind of increasingly moving from that static model where the application teams and the infrastructure teams were separated into more of a DevOps model, and now even into a platform engineering model, where the platform engineering team treats your infrastructure, whether it be the stack or even the applications, as really a product, and they are looking at that as really as a platform, uh, and then they provide centralized services where now each of these personas, whether it is a DevOps, whether it is a DevSecOps, it's a GitOps persona, or it is a service ops persona, all of them get their curated dashboards or their ability to look into that data only in a viewpoint which is more relevant to them, right? If it is an exec, you'll get an exec dashboard. Okay, so those are some of the self-service nature of data and how data is getting consumed. And the same also goes with the ability to query that data, right? So you got to be able to provide a mechanism to query all of these disparate data sources in a very easy to use manner. And that's where we are seeing the rise of low code, no code environments, which also cater to citizen developers, right? So it's not, you don't have to be a subject matter expert. Even a layman would be able to derive those actionable insights. So those are some of the trends we're seeing at the self-service layer, right? Again, APIs is again a big deal as well, right? So ability to interact through APIs and dashboards and low code and no code and search capabilities. All of this we see kind of transforming the access layer for a data platform.
Got it. So you're saying that all of these are interrelated, but sort of mostly all the three are interrelated, but mostly powered by the platform engineering and that multi-cloud operability, so that you get the full
Exactly.
picture.
Exactly.
Yeah, got it.
Exactly. So yeah, I would characterize it the same way as you did, right? So it's really about self-serve dashboards. The workflows are important, right? As I said, data is the new source code, right? So moving from data is a new oil to data is a new source code, and you got to treat data accordingly, right?
Got it.
And being able to slice and dice that to meet your requirement. So yeah, I would say all of the above.
Okay, got it. Okay, so let's see who's the winner. There's only 2 players, so there's no 3 anyway. Well, I'm second, so that means, yeah, you're first. Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, Sailesh. This was very insightful, and I think it's very important for us, tech people, to, especially data folks, to step into 2023 with these in mind. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Sanjana. Thanks for having me again. And I think I liked your format. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of followers. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.